Morning, it's Anya Jeffries. I am a personal trainer for your life and career, and today I have Scott Simpkin with me. Good morning to you, Scott.
Good morning.
He is a co-founder with Felix Hamer of Waggle-it. Now, Scott, you went to university, to Durham University, and you graduated in geography, and Felix went to Oxford University and graduated in human sciences, and both of you decided not to follow the corporate route but to set up your own business. So you have now actually launched Waggle-it. It's a social polling app which allows you to ask multiple choice questions with like-minded individuals in order to build communities. So if you could just tell us something about Waggle-it. I know it's a social polling app, but if you could just give the viewers a bit more detail.
Yeah, so Waggle-it is it's a social polling app. It's available on the App Store and Google Play Store. The idea behind it was basically to allow people in local communities to communicate with each other via social polling. So you can ask anybody in your local community any question, simply. And that's how it started, and it's developed somewhat since, yeah.
Okay, and tell me, so because you've co-founded the business with Felix, how did you and Felix meet?
So Felix and I have been friends for a good 10 years now. Good friends. We actually came up with discussed a few ideas when we went traveling together in Central America. Yeah, you have a lot of time to discuss this kind of thing. We only started to kind of do this business in August. August 2015, it's the time when we really took the big leap. Felix had just come out of university. He was really keen to start his own business. He kind of roped me along. He convinced me, that we should, these ideas that we've discussed are really good. We should go for it. So yeah, the idea kind of started as basically Felix wanted a way of kind of crowdsourcing dilemmas to his friends. So for example, if you're buying a new pair of shoes and you wanted to get opinions on it, there's no real way with which you can do that in the current system. If you try and post on something like WhatsApp or a text message, then you just get a series of replies that aren't really, it's not visual data. Whereas if you just had a literally vote for one or the other, you get visual data and it would be great and it would influence your life decisions. But obviously since then we'd had a few changes because we realised things about the market and things about what people want that have become more and more relevant. So we decided to kind of add a feature that allowed people to communicate in their local area. Anonymously, so you can ask people different questions that you otherwise wouldn't be able to ask with no other medium of doing it.
Okay, and tell me, how do you differ from your competitors?
So a lot of our competitors come with this tagline that I really dislike. It's kind of like, you can ask anyone in the world any question, because that sounds brilliant.
Yeah. But
in reality, it's not. You don't communicate with people who are like-minded. You might be asking a question about, what do you think of this dress to a 70-year-old man? And you'd have no idea. And that's not, a 70-year-old man halfway across the world who doesn't know anything about your culture. And also the questions that you get as a user would not be relevant because it's not in your local area. It's not with people that are like-minded. So we really focused on making it within communities, which is where we have this hive system that we put in our app that allows people to communicate with people in their local area, which will soon be expanded to topic-based communities and communities based on friend groups that you can add your own ones in the latest version. But yeah, we really hit on the idea that communities are key, and that's what makes us totally different. A lot of people like to compare us to Yik Yak is the other thing, which is understandable considering it's targeted at people of a millennial generation, university students, and its use of local-based anonymous messaging. Except obviously, I think personally that we offer something better than they do, because the engagement with a comment on Yik Yak is simply, do you like it or do you not? Rather than with our social polling, it is literally, what do you think of this? You can contribute to everyone's responses with something that is not just, oh, I like it or I don't. It's you contributing your opinion, which I think is a step further. But obviously, it's a matter of opinion. I don't take that as a businessman.
So bearing in mind that the success of your business is actually based on the fact that it's all to do about mixing with like-minded individuals and communities, how successful have you been to date?
So I'd say, I'm pretty proud of where we've come. We started off we released the app late in January the 25th, I think was the day we released it.
That was 2016.
2016, yeah, exactly. So we've been going for about 2 months now, and we have 5,500 downloads, which is, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It's good. It shows that people like the product. This is key because one thing we subsequently found is it's quite hard for people to use it in communities that haven't already picked it up. So we went around universities trying to promote it to get a kind of critical mass in the community so that there was enough people to speak with each other. And we really hit upon, when we went to Bristol University, they started really, like, suddenly we got, we were getting 200 downloads a day at the start, which is fantastic. The word of mouth was spreading it like wildfire. We got, we now have 1,500 users in Bristol, which is fantastic. I mean, the challenge is keeping them and keeping them interested, which we're trying to innovate all the time to do. But, that is probably our major success story. We've also got 600 users in Edinburgh, which is funny because we went around and toured a few universities to promote it. We didn't actually go to Edinburgh at all, which means that started entirely organically. We don't know anyone there. We don't know anything. We suspect someone from Bristol said, "Oh, we really love the app.
Yeah.
You should download it." And it just took off, which is great. So it shows we've got good organic growth that we can build upon. The growth elsewhere is inconsistent, and we're trying to fix that. But with the latest update, which allows people to kind of communicate based on communities that aren't just local area. So if you're in a place where you can't talk to anyone because then no one uses the app, then you're not crippled, which is essentially the case at the moment. So yeah, I think the successes at the moment are very geographically based, but we're hoping in the future, with the future developments, that it will expand totally.
Okay, so just to expand slightly further, because I know that your community is actually based on a beehive. So
Yes,
you have,
yeah.
So you actually have. So would you like to tell the viewers
Yeah,
a little bit more about
so
that?
it's called Waggle-it because the bees in a hive, when they're trying to work out where to locate their hive, they do a waggle dance, which is essentially just waggling their bums. And the amount of bees that waggle their bums determines how much they like the hive. So it's social theory for wisdom of the crowd. And my co-founder Felix, he did a human sciences degree, so he knows all this stuff anyway. He came up with the name. I think it's a really good way of using it. And we've really adapted the bee concept. So we've got, if you go on the app, we've got a nice mascot. He's a cartoon generated bee who we call Barnaby.
Yeah.
And he and the areas you communicate in your hives. So we really wanted to kind of create this kind of alternative world where like a bee, you would go to certain hives and you would interact with people within that hive, and then you can, if you wanted to, if you moved location, you would move to another hive and interact with these people. And that, I think, is a system that kind of explains what we're trying to get at with communities the best, and it's fitted within our brand.
So you have a city, and you actually have 2 locations, or is it a school or a university, which is actually linked to that?
Yeah.
Hive?
If you download the app, you will, at the moment, you will get a location based on the nearest city that there is to you that we currently have on our system, or the nearest university or school. Because those are all communities that are based on local areas. I think it's key to mention that in 2 weeks we're going to have a major update which allows you to not only communicate with people in your local area, the hives are now based on things communities that are already existing. So for example, we'll have a fashion hive so people can talk about their what clothes they want to wear and make decisions based on that. We'll have a sports hive, people can talk about the latest Premier League results, stuff like that. And not only topics, will allow you to create your own hives. So if you have a group of friends that you want to ask questions like, where should we go out for dinner tonight, or what should we make, you can do that in your local area. We've realised that a lot of people like to use the app to have a bit of a laugh about people in their kind of things based on their community. So if you can do that with your friend group, then that's clearly something that's pretty significant. So yeah, we're expanding the communities to fit certain areas, and the hives are now based not only on location but on common interests. Okay,
which is great, and you are building a sense of community through the creation of your app. So if you think about your journey as a young entrepreneur, what lessons have you learnt along the way that you could actually share with other potential entrepreneurs?
So the funny thing is, we get asked this question a lot. Neither Felix or I have the ability to code, which is funny for 2 people founding an app. I mean, a lot of people have said it's a very good thing because we can step back and look at the product, which I totally agree with. But we've had to make hires to produce the product. We've had to constantly make decisions on who to do it with, and there were a lot of technical issues that we perhaps didn't consider as well as we should have done at the start. And I think in many ways it's learning about being resourceful with the expertise that you've got that has been one of the main learning curves that we've had. I mean, the one thing I would like to get at is, if there's any young entrepreneurs out there who think about doing it, I mean, absolutely go for it, because that's another argument to suggest. I mean, neither of us are technical co-founders, yet we've created a company with an app that's on the App Store that and really enjoying it. It's something that we're starting to become fairly successful at. So I think there's nothing that should really be stopping you in this sense, because you're young, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve.
I mean, but what made you go down the entrepreneurial route as opposed to the corporate ladder?
Yeah, no, I did flirt with being a lawyer for a while, and I quickly realised that I wanted something more than just a job that you went to and you maybe didn't get the responsibility that you would have if you run a business. And the best piece of advice I got given was essentially like, yeah, you might be young and naive and not necessarily know the things that you should know at this age, but these are risks you can take being young without many responsibilities that you would otherwise have later in life if you have a family or stuff like that. And really, it's funny because one of the other things I considered was taking a business master's, because I've always been interested in being an entrepreneur. But I can't say this with any kind of certainty, but I'd be really surprised if I learned more doing business masters than I've learned running a business for 6 months, because I've started to do Excel spreadsheets for finances I never thought I'd be doing. I understand companies law way better than I was doing when I was applying to these law firms. I mean, the ways in which shares are distributed, communication with HMRC, stuff like that, I've massively increased my knowledge of. And then just marketing and branding and making decisions based on your perception and learning from your errors, and that within itself is something that I'd never really done before, and kind of thought that it was something that I would struggle at, but ultimately you learn by doing things by practice, and that's what I've done by running a business. So yeah.
Can I say thank you so much, Scott, for sharing all your views, and I hope that he has given you a lot of food for thought. You've certainly given me a lot of food for thought.
Excellent.
And it's wonderful to see someone so passionate about something they truly believe in. So I wish you and Felix all the very, very best of luck moving forward.
Thanks, Anya.
And I know that you are going to be hugely successful, Scott, so I wish you very, very well.
Thank you very much.
That's a pleasure.